didn't bring the local food thing to Minneapolis. Minneapolis discovered it, or the food people discovered it, and we happen to be close enough that we're considered the local butter, I guess. All of our cream comes from Minnesota cows, and of course we're made here in Steele County, which is only 80 miles south of Minneapolis. So. Get our cream comes in totes or in a bulk truck. And on the north side of the building, we have a truck shed where we back the truck in and we pump the cream off. It comes through the building on stainless steel pipes. The pasteurizing process takes about 4 hours, 5 hours in that area. And we cool the cream down to about 40 degrees for overnight storage. In the morning on Wednesday, typically, they get in here about 5 o'clock. They're making 2 batches. And they'll start pumping the cream in, and by about 7 o'clock, the churn is ran enough so that we start doing the testing phases and getting the moisture and all that kind of stuff set up right. This building was built in 1920. The Hope Creamery Co-op has a little bit of history prior to that. I think at one time it was called the Midway Co-op. Initially it was built out of town here, and then when the railroad came through Hope, they took the building down and moved it into town and rebuilt it, and then a couple years later they built the new structure that we use now. Are you ready for some buttermilk? We're going to try a little fresh buttermilk now. So you can see all the small globs of butter, and it's floating in a lake of fresh buttermilk is what that is. And that we're about to drain that off now is what we'll do. So if you come around here, you can see where it'll drain out. And I bet, do we have any styrofoam cups in the office? We can all have a little taste of buttermilk, fresh buttermilk this morning. Normally they all just drink out of that same cup up on the counter, but since we have guests here, we'll use fresh styrofoam cups. Part of the reason we taste it is it gives the indication on how well the butter is going to taste and how well it's going to keep, those types of things. It's good stuff. If you come over here, you can see the buttermilk is nearly drained all off. And what it will do then, he'll shut the valve, and then he'll take this hanging device here, and we'll put fresh well water, filtered well water on top of the butter. He'll run it a couple of times, and he'll stop, and then we'll dump that on the floor. But what this allows us to do with this step is we're washing the curd, and so the butter has a creamier, smoother taste. A lot of people who know much more about food than I do will taste my butter and make those comments. And what that is through this process, we're able to eliminate the milk solids. This is a step that's unique batch churning, which can't be done on a real large scale. Very good smell coming out of there, though. The air is getting pushed out by the water, so it's kind of like atomized butter. So it's probably got a caloric intake to it. Just the air does. So it smells very good, like a movie theater house almost when you walk in. The popcorn at the movie theater. Now he's going to add the culture. It's like cheese culture. Part of when I bought it, I had some engineering background and sales background, and I came in here with the idea we were going to modernize and stuff like that. And Gene, who's been here since 1964, and I were walking around, and I was talking about, well, we should do this and that. And then Gene, who's a man who doesn't say a whole lot, made a comment to me kind of in passing. I wonder if that'll change how the butter tastes. And he walked away. And I had to think about that for a while. Now, wouldn't that be stupid? You buy this little business that makes this great butter, and then you change it, modernize it, whatever you want to call it, and you lose that element, whatever that is, that is, you know. So at that point in time, after thinking about that for a while, I realized I better do a lot more listening and a lot less talking, and try to figure out what we're doing and why we're doing it, and how that affects how the butter tastes. And as a result of that, we haven't done a lot of modernizing. We've stayed with this technology, and it's for the reason we've talked about, the ability to wash the curd, and the underlying fact is it's all very expensive to start modifying stuff and putting in new equipment, things like that. Hundreds of thousands of dollars could be spent very quickly to modernize the plant, so to save labor. is the big reason, and up volume. And to be legally sold as butter in the state of Minnesota, it has to have 80% butter fat. So our goal is to get as close to 80% without giving away too much. What the procedure is, he's going to weigh out a defined amount of butter, and then he'll heat that butter up with a torch to boil off the water. So essentially he's clarifying it is what he's doing. And then once the water's boiled off, he re-weighs the sample. So typically he'll have to add water to get it down to the 80% or near 80% butter fat. And then the batch is ready to be made into pounds.
Hiding a summer tragedy. Parity, my confession.
We bought the creamery in 2001. They were doing about 30,000 pounds of butter a year. After we bought the creamery, we started selling to the cities. We started out with the restaurants. We got pulled onto the shelves. So as a result of that, we're selling about 300,000 pounds of butter a year. Quite frankly, there's a lot of butter out there that's cheaper than mine. I personally don't believe the quality and the flavor is there, but there is a lot cheaper butter out there, and I'm always amazed when people spend more time and energy than I guess I would if I wasn't in the butter business, I guess. So that kind of foodie type thing that when it's 20 below and the trucks don't start, I kind of forget about that stuff. This is the warehouse and all the inventory we have of Hope butter at any given time. We don't warehouse it, we don't freeze it, we make it fresh, and it all gets delivered by hand through the process out there onto the floor in here, and then it all goes out this door into the back of my truck. It's the whole world supply of Hope butter right here.